You've probably heard it many times, someone wagging a finger going on about the separation of church and state. But if Thomas Jefferson were listening in on that conversation, he would definitely have something to say about how his words were being used and abused. Hi, I'm Lathan Watts, Director of Community Relations for First Liberty Institute. There can be no better way to celebrate one of America's greatest statesmen than by reclaiming his legacy for religious liberty and living as boldly as he did in freedom's defense. It is sadly ironic that a few select words of Jefferson, the wall of separation between church and state, have been abused and distorted today by those seeking to dismantle the foundations of our republic. Those words appeared in Jefferson's now infamous letter to the Danbury Baptists, a religious group in Connecticut concerned with its state government's weak religious liberty protections. Shortly following his election to the presidency in 1802, Jefferson wrote, "Believing with you that religion is a matter which lies solely between man and his God, that he owes account to none other for his faith or his worship, that the legislative powers of government reach actions only and not opinions, I contemplate with sovereign reverence that act of the whole American people, which declared that their legislature would make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, thus building a wall of separation between church and state. Adhering to this expression of the supreme will of the nation in behalf of the rights of conscience, I shall see with sincere satisfaction the progress of those sentiments which tend to restore to man all his natural rights, convinced he has no natural right in opposition to his social duties." Thus building a wall of separation of church and state is arguably the most abused phrase in American history. A parade of anti-faith groups have used this phrase as a call to arms in a never-ending courtroom assault. Consider these cases, just a few of the hundreds that First Liberty Institute engages in each year. 2 county commissioners' courts, one in Jackson County, Michigan, the other in Rowan County, North Carolina, regularly open their sessions with an invocation led by one of the commissioners. In 2013, an individual activist and the ACLU, respectively, sued the commissioners for supposedly violating the separation of church and state. But as president, Jefferson not only signed bills which appropriated financial support for chaplains in Congress and the military, but he himself attended worship services held on the floor of the House of the United States Representatives at the U.S. Capitol. Tony Richardson is an educational technician who works with students with special needs at a public high school in Augusta, Maine. In a conversation at school, she told a co-worker and fellow church member, "I'll pray for you." Her employer, citing the separation of church and state, threatened her with disciplinary action up to termination if she continued using such unprofessional language. What would Jefferson think? As president, Jefferson also served as the first chairman of the school board of the District of Columbia. There he authored the city's first plan for its public schools. His plan used the Bible and Isaac Watts' hymnal as the key books for teaching reading in their schools. Oscar Rodriguez is a decorated Air Force veteran. While giving a patriotic flag-folding speech at a retirement ceremony for fellow airman Chuck Roberson, uniformed airmen assaulted and physically removed Rodriguez from the room because he dared mention the word God in his speech. What was Jefferson's approach to religion in the military? In addition to signing the bills which appropriated funds for chaplains in the military, he also signed the Articles of War, in which he earnestly recommended to all officers and soldiers diligently to attend divine services. In perhaps his most famous written work, the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson exemplified his deep commitment to the divine origin of the rights of each individual in the famous line, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." In essence, America's birth certificate, as penned by Jefferson, declares that God exists, and his existence forms the basis for all personal, political, and economic rights. Those who seek to hijack the phrase, separation of church and state, to impose secular humanism on our political life can only do so by willfully turning a blind eye to the volumes of Jefferson's other writings, as well as his own actions as president. Those actions speak louder than any words. Jefferson's victories for religious freedom are our cherished heritage, and his fight is now our fight. Now is the time for all Americans, religious or not, to stand for our first freedom, the bedrock upon which all liberty rests. No better inspiration can be found than Jefferson's own personal seal, which read, "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." Those who stand courageously against oppression can do so secure in the knowledge that the author of the Declaration of Independence, and more importantly, the author of our liberty itself, are not neutral in the contest.